one of the big talking points on the back of that game, Matt, was about Phil Foden. And I remember when you and I spoke last, we had a little bit of a talk about Phil Foden. It was after the Arsenal game and the fact that, for starters, Haaland was on the pitch that day, but he was playing in that sort of advanced midfield role, didn't really
Yeah.
make an impact. Did he need to do more? It
Mm.
feels like we're back there in that sort of same situation. And I'll have my say on it after you, but I think it's worth pointing out the position he was playing against Liverpool was quite frankly a bit strange. And we did
Yeah.
speak about this on the review show. So, that's a caveat, but it feels like the first conversation we had, we're kind of back there and having the same conversation now.
Yeah, I did find it bizarre yesterday. You look at the lineup, you see Marmoush, you just assume it's almost a like for like swap with Haaland. Not you know what I mean? Like, centre forward for a centre forward. And then it's Foden as the highest player on the pitch, just the one leading the line almost, and Marmoush is almost in the midfield. It was peculiar, and I said to my dad, we were singing Invisible Man at one point. I was like, we're singing about Phil Foden because he's not been there today, and there's been so many occasions this season where he's just failed to get involved. Yes, but put a stamp on the game like he did last year. I know that's what we said last time we spoke. Talking about his season last season, and that was always going to be difficult to top, especially when he's been out the team for different reasons, injuries and everything. But yeah, I can't put my finger on it. What's wrong with him? And if it is the case that because everything around him has been so dysfunctional, then is that a weakness on his side that he can't be the guy to lead us? Like Kevin would in his prime and etc. So yeah, it's difficult watching Phil at the moment. He's having a cracking game one week, and then the next few, he's the invisible man, like I say.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because I, as is far too often the case, took a little bit of stick online for suggesting that Jeremy Doku had a decent game, but I think the phrase I used was the definition of saying a lot without saying anything, in the sense that he so often causes havoc, but it's like watching a film, in my opinion, and having 85% of the film and you get into the big sort of blockbusting finale and it just switches off. That I mean, you can there's plenty of analogies that you can think of, but like the talent is there, but it just seems like so often we haven't seen it. And the point I'm getting at, the people in replies would say, you're criticising Doku, who was City's best player, blah, blah, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, maybe alongside Kazanov, but why aren't you criticising Foden, etc., etc. And like, for me, it was the setup against Liverpool was strange. You didn't really get to see him. He was sort of deployed as this false nine, which he played really well 3 seasons ago. But City, as a football club, and a football team, have changed since then. So I'm prepared. I don't know if this is maybe again doing the old protecting the academy lad, and Phil Foden very much is from my neck of the woods. I'm prepared to let this season pass because we have seen what he can do last season. And you might say Rodri was City's most important player, but I think Foden was City's best player in that title win in particular. And even then, goal at the Bernabeu. Against Liverpool, he was kind of trying those things, but the shots were just bad. So if he's getting into the position, especially in the first half, I think he had 2 shots which didn't test Alisson at all. Maybe that's just an off day, but we kind of have known in the past his finishing hasn't been great. Perhaps last season was a purple patch and it's sort of reverting to the means. I don't know. Yeah. I totally agree, Matt. He needs to step up, but maybe we give him the season off. Is that acceptable for a football club of City stature? Probably not. It kind of feels like that's where we are, though.
Yeah, I mean, giving them the benefit of the doubt, maybe not, like you say, because of the standards that we have set, but the flip of that is because the standards that we have set and how successful we have been over the last 4 seasons, we're due a bit of bad luck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he certainly has had that. Obviously, we don't know everything that's gone on, but he has had some sort of off the field problems or whatever. So, if he comes back firing next season, it's going to be a distant memory, isn't it? Let's be honest. So we'll see how it goes with Phil. We'll see how it goes.
Speaking of which, a lot of this, and we did speak about this a little bit yesterday, but there's been developments on the not developments. There's been new stories, new angles on the Kevin De Bruyne situation, because I think that plays a massive part of it. And at the moment, I don't know if De Bruyne leaving benefits or harms Phil Foden. That's probably one to sort of see play out in maybe the next coming months if De Bruyne is in and out the squad a little bit more, and certainly next season, depending on where he is. But Paul Hurst in the Times, who is the Manchester correspondent for that newspaper, says that Florian Wirtz is Manchester City's top transfer target for the summer, and that the most recent noise is, this is just sort of paraphrasing off the City Extra aggregation, so apologies if this sort of intricacies that have maybe been missed out, but the most recent noises coming from Kevin De Bruyne's camp suggest he wants to stay at Manchester City and is okay with the idea of playing a bit part role. Separately, I've seen people sort of suggesting, a Modric style status in the squad. There's a lot to unpack there in terms of Foden, in terms of Florian Wirtz, in terms of Kevin De Bruyne. I guess the question is, how would you, if you are Hugo Viana, how are you sort of putting these pieces together? Who do you go to first? Is it a case of, do you see if Florian Wirtz is available? If not, Kevin De Bruyne can leave on a free contract. Do you see if Kev wants to extend? Do you box that off first? And if there's room, you speak to Florian Wirtz. It feels like there's quite a few moving parts in this one.
Yeah, it definitely does. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm glad I'm not Hugo Viana, because that is some
welcome to Manchester, Hugo.
Yeah,
Jesus.
And I don't know. My first instinct is, I don't know if I'm greedy and I've got my football manager mind on. Get Florian Wirtz in and give Kev the 1 year deal. Why not have all three? I know that is that I'm talking dreamland there. That's you've got to keep all three of them happy as well. So it's quite difficult in that sense, but. Yeah, I think last time I spoke to you, I was still very much the keep Kev for another season. But I've not changed my mind. But I think especially the Bernabeu game where Pep didn't turn to him, that I think was very telling. I was actually surprised that he started yesterday. Honest with you, I wasn't expecting that. I thought maybe he'll be an impact player off the bench last 30 minutes or something if we're still in the game. But he didn't impress. There was some just simple passes that, he wouldn't normally have to even think about. It would just be instinct, and they were just going astray. So I don't know. It's definitely difficult. But I think if you're bringing in a Florian Wirtz, what's the harm in having a Kevin De Bruyne to learn off? If what you say is true, that, De Bruyne is happy to be a bit part role in the squad, I don't think there's much risk that comes with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, moreover here, it depends on what happens with, in my opinion, Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. Because for whatever reason, if those two are still at the football club at the start of the end of the transfer window next season, you can't have Florian Wirtz, you can't have De Bruyne, and you can't have Phil Foden. I don't think you can add another body into there and still have the other two. So... With Bernardo Silva, he's wanted to leave for a while, but then he's had a kid. He seems settled. Ilkay Gundogan reportedly has this clause in his contract that if he plays a certain amount of games, he has a 1 year extension. I believe it was Jack Gorn in the Mail earlier last week said Ilkay Gundogan would sort of, he isn't blind to the fact that maybe he isn't contributing how he wants to be, and Guardiola would they'd shake hands and they'd amicably agree not to push forward with that one. So for me, it hinges on that. I think a Foden versus De Bruyne midfield option. Obviously, you've got Rodri coming back and you've got Nico Gonzalez. Maybe you need another sort of hybrid 8 style who can sort of come in and out of matches. That's another sort of adding to the shopping list. But I think that's okay. I don't know about you, but I think that's okay. But it would at least need one to go for me of Bernardo Silva and Gundogan.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I would also add Kovacic to that list.
True.
Mainly because of his. I know he's not exactly been at City very long, but I think because of his age and, like you say, that 6-8 hybrid that everyone keeps talking about, that let's be honest, we do need like a Bruno Guimaraes-esque type of player. Whether it's him or not is another thing. I can see Kovacic being on that list, possibly to leave, but like I mentioned about De Bruyne before, how he wasn't turned to for the Bernabeu. Bernardo wasn't even given a look yesterday. It was
Mm.
James McAtee that came on, which is, if you said that a year ago, James McAtee at Sheffield United, that is wild. So yeah, I think there will be a
Can he
lot
be
of
the
movement.
guy? That feels a lot of attacking heavy, and it would kind of need one to reshape their
Mm.
play style. But can he? Does he have a future in this squad?
McAtee,
Yeah.
yeah. For me, I really like McAtee, and I really like the idea of McAtee being really good in this squad. But for me, he just hasn't. Don't get me wrong. There was a stage up to this season, like in our really tough patch in November, where it was like everyone was going, "Why isn't McAtee getting a chance?" And I was with that. I was like, "Come on, like just throw him in there," along with like Nico O'Reilly, etc. He has had a lot of opportunities now. Like he's been coming on for like half an hour here and there, and for me, he has been quite underwhelming. Like don't get me wrong, it's difficult to shine in this team at the moment, but I don't know if he's quite our level or where we want to be. Is he quite our level? I don't know, but yeah, I could possibly see him leaving in the summer as well. To be honest with you,
Yeah. We had this discussion. I think it was last week, and it was Adam who was saying something along the lines of he doesn't see. And maybe this does turn out to be the case, but he doesn't see, how it's going to be a 6 players in, 6 players out kind of summer. But when you speak it almost feels like it has to be because,
yeah,
like you
yeah,
mentioned the names there, it would almost be suicidal to go into next season with some of the same players that are being
God,
mentioned.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe things fall into place and offers don't sort of come forward, and people don't necessarily stump up the money or contracts don't wait. I don't know. Maybe Adam
Mm.
often Adam often is right, but yeah, it's going to be fascinating though. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. There's a match to get through. There's lots of matches to get through actually before the
Yeah,
summer transfer window, but there's an often painful match to get through before that. Just quickly, because we will have a sort of more of an in-depth preview on match day tomorrow. But in terms of that Spurs game, I can take losing to Real Madrid because Real Madrid are better than City. I can take losing to Liverpool because Liverpool are better than City. Holy moly, Jesus Christ. If City cannot beat this Spurs team, be that at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or not, deep breath. I don't even want to consider it.
I'm going to put this out as a public message to Pep and the boys. Wednesday's my birthday.
Oh,
Please do not ruin it and lose to Spurs. Please, I beg.
oh God.
Um, but on an unselfish note, for the City community, yeah, we cannot lose to Spurs. We can't. Like you said, Real Madrid, Liverpool. Yeah, you don't expect to get much out of them games, but Spurs. I know it's Spurs away, which is somewhat of a cursed stomping ground for us to go to. But come on, the way they've been playing this season, surely Marmoush behind that he's gonna have a field day against their high line and their shaky defense. But football is not that simple, is it? Sadly, so
No.
yeah, it's going to be a difficult one. But I think we should come out of it with a win.
Yeah, that one for me. I saw the vision with the false nine and adding bodies to midfield, although deployed absolutely bonkersly on
Yeah,
Sunday. I think you have to say to Omar Mamouche, play on the last man. And I know he's had a couple of offsides, specifically in that Chelsea game. This is assuming Erling Haaland isn't fit. You have to say to him, just play on that last man. Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, whoever, Ilkay Gundogan, whoever's playing in that midfield, you get the ball and you play it in behind, and we score 7. That seems like the most simple game plan of the season when you look at how Spurs have played.
yeah, spot on. But sadly, football is not that simple, is it?
No,
As we
no.
know, especially and this season is definitely not as straightforward as we know. You never know. Marmoush could pull up. I don't want to
Oh,
jinx it, but you know what I mean. It would be this season for him to be throwing goal
mm,
and he pulls up with hamstring or something. But Haaland might be fit as well. You never know. He might be thrown into the 11 and Marmoush might be on the bench. So everything we say
mm,
might Pep might be listening to this, just laughing his head off and going, "Yeah, what do they know?" But
mm.
yeah, I think they'd be daft not to have Marmoush on, running behind. I think it'd be almost kryptonite for Tottenham. That
Yeah. Just having a false nine floating about in front of their defence, the defence
Yeah.
that pretty much parks themselves on the halfway line.
That was the first part of the show. If you want more, make sure to check the City Ramble wherever you get your podcasts from.